Serious questions arise about management practices and fiscal policies at a major bi-state agency. The questions center on the Delaware River Port Authority, and they come at a time when government and public agencies are being asked to tighten their belts. NJN News has learned that the DRPA may be in violation of its own bylaws and the compact that established it, and appears to have engaged in millions of dollars in questionable spending. The agency is controlled jointly by New Jersey and Pennsylvania. State House correspondent Zachary Fink has spent the last few weeks investigating this story and joins us now with his findings. Zach.
Jim, thank you. This story actually came to us through a legislative office in the northwest part of New Jersey. NJN News has now spoken with 3 former employees of the DRPA who verified the information you are about to see. These whistleblowers have declined to speak with us on camera in order to protect their identities. The picture that was painted for us is one in which the Delaware River Port Authority allegedly ignored its own governing structure, handed out generous salaries while allowing at least one officer to engage in outside employment, and spent money intended for economic development in the region in reckless ways without adequate controls or oversight. The Delaware River Port Authority is a bi-state public agency which oversees the Walt Whitman, Ben Franklin, Commodore Barry, and Betsy Ross bridges. It also operates the PATCO system and the Riverlink ferry. In 2009, the DRPA took in $242 million in toll money. Those kinds of figures allow it to operate independently without subsidies from New Jersey or Pennsylvania. But former employees we spoke with says it's that very independence which has allowed the DRPA to abuse its own bylaws while its fiscal practices are ignored by officials in both states. The DRPA employs roughly 900 people. It has a 16-member board of commissioners, 8 appointed from each state. According to the DRPA bylaws, quote, the chair and vice chair shall be elected from different states and shall serve for terms of 3 years commencing with the organization meeting of January 1993. The bylaws also state that, quote, the secretary and the treasurer shall serve for terms of 3 years commencing with the organization meeting of January 1993. In other words, triennial elections. The same is true for officers. But NJN News was told that those elections were skipped for several years. So we requested the minutes for the last 5 elections. We were given the election minutes for March 17, 1999, and from June 19, 2002. Apparently, there were none in 2005 or 2008 as mandated in the bylaws. A non-regularly scheduled meeting was called in December of 2009, where new elections for the chair, vice chair, secretary, treasurer, and the councils from both states were held. According to the whistleblowers we spoke with, there was a reluctance within the DRPA board to follow rules. Former New Jersey Republican State Senator John Mathewson is the chief executive officer at the DRPA. He was appointed in 2003. Earlier this month, NJN News attended the authority's regular monthly board meeting. We approached Mathewson about sitting down with us for an on-camera interview to answer some questions. He declined our request.
I think Dick Brown needs to be our spokesman for this point.
He does?
Yes.
Okay, on all matters pertaining to the DRPA? Or?
Well, I don't know. No, not all matters, but I think Mr. Kasuba will handle it.
We were referred to Dick Brown, who serves as counsel for the DRPA. Our first question had to do with the DRPA's acting public safety director, Mike Joyce, who insiders say has no background in law enforcement. NJN News was told that with his car allowance of $9,000, Joyce currently pulls in an annual public salary of close to $200,000. In addition, Joyce's law firm currently serves as the solicitor for Pennsauken, making Joyce, in effect, the township attorney.
I don't know whether he is currently doing that job or not.
My understanding was that his salary here is about $198,000 with a car allowance. Is that correct?
That's impossible.
Do you know what it is?
I don't know exactly, but it's vastly less than that.
And he would also be permitted to have another public job in New Jersey?
I believe that the situation in New Jersey is that people are permitted to have more than one public job. But yes, under our procedures, he's permitted, if he goes through the steps he did go through, he can hold another position.
Although paperwork was promised, we were never given any follow-up materials detailing what Joyce's salary actually is. Through Brown, Joyce also declined to speak with us on camera. We asked Brown what the policies are regarding outside employment.
An employee who wishes to be employed in an outside position must speak to their supervisor about it. If the supervisor approves, it's sent to the Human Resources Department, who clear it with the CEO.
Our understanding was Director of Public Safety Mike Joyce also serves as the counsel for Pennsauken Township. Has that been approved?
I'm aware that at the present time, Mike Joyce serves as of counsel with a law firm in New Jersey, and that has been approved. I can tell you that up until, say, a year or so ago, I was Mike's supervisor when he was Deputy General Counsel.
We were also told that Dick Brown himself is planning on retiring, and he recently got permission to have his $9,000 annual car allowance transferred into his salary, which would pad his pension. DRPA employees are in the Pennsylvania pension system.
I have no intentions of retiring.
Okay. Was your car allowance transferred into your salary?
My car allowance is part of my salary at this point, as I think is appropriate.
When we began to look further into the laws governing the DRPA, we learned that despite handling nearly $250 million in public money, the agency has no solid ethics policy. Several attempts were made to write one, and a policy was even completed in 2006, but when the board learned of what the requirements would be, a move was made to exempt the board from the new ethics policy. That led to the whole idea simply being scrapped.
There certainly have been ethics policies worked on, but I do not believe that right now today there is a formal policy beyond the ethics statement in the bylaws, which has been in place for a long time.
Has there been an effort to draft one before?
As I said, I am aware that there have been efforts.
According to former employees, for years, the DRPA had what they described as a, quote, slush fund, which was used for economic development in and around the port area on both sides of the river. One of the projects funded by that money placed windmills on top of the Camden Aquarium. But in what appears to be a failure of engineering, the windmills were placed on the wrong side and barely generate enough wind to function, let alone serve as a power source. DRPA officials told us they know nothing about the windmill project. According to a source who works at the aquarium, quote, the energy output is not as good as it should be. There was reportedly a plan to place motors inside, but that was abandoned. In 1992, the DRPA compact was reconstituted by the United States Congress. A provision in Article 12 now reads, quote, not less than once every 5 years, the Commission shall cause a management audit of its operational effectiveness and efficiency to be conducted by an independent consulting firm selected by the Commission. We were told that the last 5-year audit was conducted in 1996, and none have been completed since. We were told that in 2001, consulting firm KPMG was contracted to conduct the audit with a price tag of $500,000, but former employees say only a draft was produced and no final version was ever completed. As per our request, the DRPA did provide us with the 2001 audit. Printed on the front are the words "final report," but when we asked for the resolution proving it was presented to the board for final approval, we got no response.
I have the 2001.
What happened in 2006?
As you may know, the DRPA board was in hiatus at that point. We weren't having board meetings, and that's why it got delayed.
Is it still delayed?
It's in process right now.
When is it due out?
Pretty soon.
And the 2001 was public final version?
I believe so. I have one.
The DRPA raised tolls by $1 in 2008, and another fare hike is scheduled to take effect next year. Dick Brown, who you just saw on camera, makes roughly $189,000 before the added car allowance. John Mathewson makes close to $220,000. Both of those salaries, by the way, are more than what New Jersey's governor makes. Mathewson's current term expires July 17th. It's unclear at this point whether he will stay on. And Jim, Governor Christie has 10 days from the date of the board meeting to veto the minutes.
And it strikes me, Zach, $250 million. That's an awful lot of toll money and bridge and train trips, and a lot of good questions raised in your report.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Zach.